I was standing in the grocery store the other day, just staring at a bulb of garlic.
Hmm.
It was just sitting there in the bin, looking so um, completely unassuming. Papery white skin, a little bit dusty, cost maybe 50 cents.
Right.
And I had this sudden realization. We treat this thing entirely as a flavor enhancer.
Oh, absolutely. It's for pasta sauce.
It's the thing you saute with onions to make the kitchen smell like home.
Uh,
It's the secret to a good meal.
yeah.
But if you actually look at the stack of research we have on the table today, calling garlic a condiment
Hmm.
feels like a massive understatement. Yeah, it feels almost disrespectful.
It is a bit like calling a nuclear reactor a water heater.
Yes.
I mean, it captures a tiny fraction of what's actually happening, and it completely misses the power source driving it all.
Exactly. Because the picture that emerges from these sources, and we are talking about a serious stack here, from the nursing clinics of North America to systematic reviews on cardiovascular disease from 2023 and 2024, is that garlic isn't really evacuable.
No, not in the way we think of one.
It operates more like a biological weapon that just happens to grow in the dirt.
That is a surprisingly accurate description. I mean, if you look at the evolutionary biology of garlic, the compounds we are going to talk about today,
The things that give it the stink.
the stink and the power, the things that lower your blood pressure and kill bacteria, they weren't evolved for us.
Right.
They weren't evolved to make your bruschetta taste good. They were evolved as a defense mechanism. The plant is defending itself.
A chemical warfare system.
Exactly. When you crush a clove of garlic, you are triggering a system designed to repel pests, fungi, and predators in the soil. We just happen to be large enough mammals that instead of killing us, that weapon system boosts our immunity and, well, scrubs our arteries.
That is the hook right there.
Mm.
We're going to explore the garlic paradox.
Mm.
It's this tension between the stink and the shield. It's this weird trade-off where the thing that destroys your breath might be the very thing that saves your life.
It's a fascinating trade-off.
And our mission today is to sift through all the noise, because everyone is a grandmother who swore by garlic for a cold, right?
Oh, absolutely. It is the quintessential old wives' tale.
But is it just a tale? That's what we're digging into. We are looking at a 2022 study on pain relief, a huge 2023 review on heart disease, and a really fascinating breakdown of the biochemistry from Dr. Bartek Kulczycki.
A great source.
We want to know, is it really nature's antibiotic? Can it actually compete with blood pressure medication? And ultimately, is the social cost of smelling like a pizzeria worth the medical payoff?
And the answer to that last question might surprise you, especially when we get into the cancer statistics later on. The numbers are, frankly, they're hard to ignore.
I can't wait to get to those. But before we get into heavy chemistry, let's ground this in some history, because I found this so interesting. We tend to think of garlic as Italian or Mediterranean, right?
That is the common association, yes. You picture the Italian grandmother braiding garlic in the kitchen.
But the nursing clinics of North America source points out that garlic actually originated in West China.
That's right.
And they've been using it medically since 2600 BC. That is over 4,000 years of essentially clinical usage.
It's one of the oldest cultivated plants in existence. And what's interesting about that timeline is that for the vast majority of human history, it wasn't really food. It was medicine first.
The flavor was a side effect.
A side effect, exactly. The culinary use was secondary. In ancient China and later in Egypt and Greece, they weren't chopping it up just to make their grain taste better. They were prescribing it for gastric infections, fevers, and diarrhea.
Which makes perfect sense if it's an antimicrobial, which we'll definitely get to.
Precisely. In fact, there are historical records of the builders of the pyramids in Egypt going on strike.
Gout. A strike.
One of the first recorded labor strikes in human history because their garlic ration was cut.
Wow.
They believed they couldn't do the heavy lifting and stay healthy in those crowded conditions without it.
That is incredible. They laid down their tools for garlic. But here's the fun fact that blew my mind. It didn't arrive in Great Britain until 1548.
Yeah.
That seems incredibly late, doesn't it?
Yeah.
The Mediterranean is right there. The Romans had been there for centuries.
It is late, but you have to remember that garlic has always been a polarizing plant. The upper classes in many societies historically rejected it because of the smell.
So as a class thing?
It was often considered peasant food or medicine for the poor. If you were a noble, you didn't want to smell like the field workers.
Of course.
So while it was thriving in the Mediterranean, it took a long time to cross the channel and become accepted in British pharmacopoeia or, their cuisine.
So in 1548, someone in London finally said, hey, this smelly bulb from the south might actually help with that dysentery.
Essentially, yes.
Yeah.
And thank goodness they did, because now we have the science to explain what those ancient healers intuitively knew.
Okay, let's unpack the science, because this is where the old wives' tale meets the microscope.
Right.
I think most people, myself included, have this vague idea that garlic is good for you because it's full of vitamins. Like, oh, I'll eat this garlic bread. It's basically a salad. I'm getting my daily greens.
I hate to be the bearer of bad news for your garlic bread rationale, but that is the first myth we really need to bust.
Bust.
Garlic is not a vitamin bomb.
Really?
If you look at the nutritional breakdown, yes, it contains vitamins and minerals. It has manganese, vitamin B6, vitamin C, selenium.
That's pretty good.
But think about the serving size. You eat maybe 1 or 2 cloves. That is a few grams of material.
Right, tiny.
The concentration of vitamins in that tiny amount is negligible.
Yeah.
To get a significant daily value of vitamins from garlic, you would need to eat 1 or 2 heads.
1 or 2 bulbs, you mean like 20 cloves?
At least.
That-
And almost nobody does that.
No.
And if you did, you would likely have some severe gastrointestinal distress. So if you are eating garlic thinking you are loading up on vitamin C, you're looking in the wrong place.
So if it's not the vitamins, what is the magic? Why is it a superfood if it's empty on the vitamin chart?
It's all about the OSCs, organosulfur compounds.
Sulfur.
The smelly stuff.
The smelly stuff. This is where the biological weapon aspect comes in. The power is in the sulfur. And this brings us to the most critical user tip in this entire deep dive.
Okay, I'm listening.
If you take nothing else away from today, listen to this. If you swallow a garlic clove whole, you are getting almost zero medicinal benefit.
Wait, really? If I swallow it like a pill, it doesn't work? I know people who do that specifically to avoid the garlic breath.
It does almost nothing, and here is why. The chemistry of garlic is a binary system. Inside a pristine, untouched clove of garlic, the active medicine does not exist yet.
Doesn't exist.
No.
Yeah.
The clove contains a compound called allicin. Allicin by itself is biologically inactive. It's just sitting there.
Okay.
But in a separate compartment within the cells, think it's like a separate vial in a chemical kit, there's an enzyme called allinase. Okay, I see where this is going. It's like a glow stick. You have to snap it to mix the chemicals.
That is a perfect analogy. That's exactly it. When the garlic clove is whole, the allicin and the allinase are separated by cell walls. They cannot touch.
They're kept apart.
But the moment you crush, chop, or masticate that clove, you break those cell walls. The allicin mixes with the allinase, and boom, you trigger a chemical reaction that creates a new compound called allicin.
And allicin is the magic bullet.
Allicin is the powerhouse. It's the compound responsible for the smell, the burn, and the majority of the medical benefits we are about to discuss. But it only exists after the crush.
That is wild. So the plant literally creates its defense mechanism on demand, only when it's being attacked.
Or chopped for dinner. Exactly. It's volatile and unstable because it's meant to be an immediate deterrent to a pest.
And this leads to the second part of the warning, heat.
Right. The sources were very clear on this.
So what does heat do to it?
Allicin is extremely sensitive to heat, but even more importantly, the enzyme allinase is also heat sensitive.
The enzyme that creates it.
Yes. So if you take a whole clove and throw it into a scorching hot pan or boil it in a soup for an hour, you are destroying the allinase enzyme before it can even do its job. You never create the allicin.
So my roasted garlic spread, delicious but medically useless?
Not entirely useless, but significantly less potent than raw.
Wow.
If you want the medical grade effects we were talking about, the blood pressure drop, the antimicrobial action, it really needs to be fresh, raw, and crushed.
But what if I'm understanding the chemistry right, could I crush it first, let it sit for, say, 10 minutes to let the allicin form, and then cook it?
That is a very smart workaround.
Uh-huh.
If you crush it and wait 10 minutes, the allicin is created. Now, allicin itself is still sensitive to heat, so you will lose some potency when you cook it, but you will have far more than if you cooked the clove whole.
So you get some of the benefit at least.
But ideally, raw is law.
Raw is law. I like that. Okay, so we've got the chemistry down. Crush it to activate it. Keep it raw to save it. Now let's talk about what this allicin actually does once it's in our system.
Yeah.
The section on cardiovascular health in our sources was, frankly, it was shocking.
It is impressive data for sure.
We're looking at hypertension, high blood pressure. The stats here say it affects 1 billion people worldwide, 2/3 of everyone over 60.
It is the silent killer. It's responsible for half of all coronary disease and stroke deaths, so anything that can move the needle on blood pressure is a public health miracle.
And the source is called garlic, a polypill. That sounds pharmaceutical. What does that mean?
A polypill refers to a single treatment that targets multiple mechanisms of a disease simultaneously.
Okay.
So, usually, a doctor might prescribe one drug to relax blood vessels, another to block a specific enzyme, and a third to handle fluid retention. Garlic seems to do 4 distinct things at once.
4. Okay, let's run through them.
First, it acts remarkably like a class of drugs called ACE inhibitors. You might have heard of lisinopril or ramipril.
Yeah, of course, those are standard BP meds.
Right. ACE stands for angiotensin-converting enzyme. This enzyme acts to narrow your blood vessels. By blocking it, garlic helps keep the vessels open.
Okay, so mechanism 1, drug-like enzyme blocking, check.
Mechanism 2, it blocks prostanoids. These are lipid compounds that also signal blood vessels to constrict.
Okay.
So it's attacking that constriction signal from 2 different angles.
Got it. A double blockade. What's number 3?
Mechanism 3, nitric oxide. We talk about this in fitness circles a lot. Garlic increases the production of nitric oxide, which is a gas that signals the smooth muscle in your arteries to relax.
Right.
When they relax, they widen and pressure drops.
Better flow, less pressure.
Okay.
And the 4th one. This was the one labeled the rotten egg hero in my notes.
Yes, this is my favorite because it sounds so counterintuitive. We associate hydrogen sulfide with the smell of rotten eggs.
Right, it's a poison gas.
It is toxic in high amounts, but our body actually uses it as a signaling molecule. Garlic stimulates our red blood cells to produce hydrogen sulfide.
We make our own rotten egg gas.
In tiny, controlled amounts. And this gas opens what are called ATP-dependent potassium channels in the smooth muscles of the arteries. This causes what's called hyperpolarization, which essentially forces the muscle to relax and stay relaxed. It's a very potent vasodilator.
So you have 4 different biological pathways all screaming, relax, to your arteries at the same time.
It's a symphony of vasodilation.
But does it actually show up on the cuff? Because mechanisms are nice, but does the number go down?
It does. The reviews found that in people with hypertension, garlic can reduce systolic pressure, that's the top number, by about 9 millimole Hg.
9 points.
And diastolic, the bottom number, by about 5 millimole Hg.
For listeners who don't track their BP daily, is 9 points a lot?
It is highly significant. In the pharmaceutical world, if a new drug drops systolic pressure by 9 points, that is a blockbuster drug.
Wow.
That is comparable to monotherapy with standard beta blockers or those ACE inhibitors we just mentioned.
Just from a plant.
And there is a nuance here that is really important. The study noted that the effectiveness increases the higher the baseline blood pressure is.
Oh, that's interesting.
So if your blood pressure is normal, garlic won't bottom you out and make you faint. It seems to have a regulatory effect, working hardest where the problem is most severe.
That's smart medicine. It knows when it's needed.
In a manner of speaking, yes.
Now, what about the plumbing itself? The cholesterol and the gunk in the pipes?
This is the other side of the cardiovascular shield. High blood pressure damages the arteries, but cholesterol clogs them.
Right.
And garlic addresses the lipid profile, too. It reduces total cholesterol, triglycerides, and LDL, the so-called bad cholesterol.
Okay.
But perhaps more importantly, it raises HDL, the good cholesterol.
So it's rebalancing the whole ratio.
Correct. But the sources go deeper than just blood work numbers. They looked at structural changes in the arteries. There is data showing garlic consumption reduces low attenuation plaque.
What is that? What's low attenuation plaque?
That is the dangerous stuff. It's the soft, unstable plaque, the kind that ruptures and causes a heart attack or a stroke.
So it gets rid of the most dangerous kind of plaque.
It seems to reduce it. It also reduces coronary artery calcium and improves carotid intima media thickness.
That's a mouthful.
It is. It refers to the thickening of the walls of the neck arteries. Thicker walls means stiffer arteries and more risk of stroke. Garlic helps reverse some of that thickening.
Wow.
So we aren't just changing the fluid flowing through the pipes, we are renovating the pipes themselves.
Renovating the pipes. I love that. So if you're worried about your heart, this seems like a no-brainer addition to the diet.
It's very compelling.
But let's move down the body a bit to the metabolic system. Blood sugar and the liver.
This is where garlic becomes a potential ally for the diabetic community or those with prediabetes.
The numbers here show a blood glucose drop of 10 to 20 milli-GDL. Again, putting that in context, that's a solid dent if you're trying to manage type 2 diabetes.
It is. It's a significant drop. And the mechanism is interesting. It acts as an insulin sensitizer.
Okay.
It helps the body secrete more insulin, but it also helps the cells respond to that insulin better. It combats insulin resistance, which is the root cause of type 2 diabetes.
And then there's the liver.
Aha.
I feel like detox is a buzzword that gets thrown around way too much in health media.
It is.
Drink this tea, it detoxes your soul. But the source material here gets really specific about liver cells or hepatocytes.
Yes. Let's reclaim the word detox for actual biochemistry. Your liver is your filtration plant. Garlic boosts the antioxidant capacity of the liver cells themselves.
Okay.
But the most striking finding for me was the chelation.
Chelation, that's removing heavy metals, right?
Yes. Those sulfur compounds in garlic have sticky sulfur bonds. They can actually bind to heavy metals like cadmium, lead, and mercury that accumulate in the liver and help your body excrete them.
That is incredible. So it's acting like a magnet for toxins.
In a way, yes. There is also very promising data on fatty liver disease.
Which is a huge problem now.
A modern epidemic. It reduces liver enzymes like ALT and AST, which are markers of liver damage, and it reduces the accumulation of fat in the liver. So for non-alcoholic fatty liver disease, it can be a powerful dietary intervention.
Now, I have to ask about the weight loss thing, because I feel like every superfood eventually gets sold as a weight loss miracle. Eat this and the pounds melt away.
Right.
But our sources seem to be fighting with each other on this one.
They are, and this is good science. Science is often messy and shows conflicting results.
Real.
You have Dr. Kulczycki in his analysis saying flat out, it's a myth, no effect on BMI.
But then the 2023 review says, wait a minute, we see a reduction in waist circumference and BMI.
Right. So what do we make of this? My take as an expert is to be conservative here.
Okay.
The conflicting data likely comes down to the form of garlic use extract versus raw and the duration of the studies. The takeaway should be, do not eat garlic to lose weight. It is not a fat burner in the commercial sense.
So it's not a magic pill.
No. However, if you are metabolically healthier, you have lower insulin, better liver function, your body is better primed to maintain a healthy weight.
So it's a supporting character in the weight loss story, not the hero.
Exactly. Don't cancel your gym membership and just eat garlic.
Good advice. Okay, let's pivot to section 4, pain and inflammation. This is surprising to me. I don't think of garlic as a painkiller. I think of aspirin or ibuprofen.
Right.
But the source discusses anti-nociception.
Which is just a fancy word for blocking the perception of pain.
And it mentions arthritis specifically. Knee osteoarthritis, rheumatoid arthritis. How does a clove of garlic stop a throbbing knee?
Well, it works remarkably like the drugs we use for these conditions. You mentioned ibuprofen. That is an NSAID, a non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drug.
Right.
NSAIDs work by blocking an enzyme called KOX2. Well, guess what garlic does?
It blocks KOX2.
It inhibits KOX2 activity. It also inhibits the synthesis of prostaglandins, which are the messenger molecules that tell your brain, hey, we are in pain here.
So it shuts down the pain signal.
It quiets it down. By lowering those messengers and blocking the inflammatory enzymes, you get pain relief.
That explains why it's been used for centuries for these things. But there was a weird paradox mentioned in the notes, something about TRP channels.
Ah, yes, the TRPA1 and TRPV1 channels. These are receptors on your nerve endings that detect heat and pain. They are what make chili peppers feel hot.
Okay.
And garlic activates these channels.
Wait, it activates the pain channel. Shouldn't that hurt?
Initially, yes. That's why raw garlic burns your mouth. It triggers a momentary inflammatory response. But this is where the body is clever. By overstimulating these channels briefly, it causes them to desensitize.
Ah, so it burns them out.
It eventually leads to a modulation of inflammation. It's a bit like fighting fire with fire.
Ah,
You trigger the sensor to eventually shut down the pain signal.
that is fascinating. The burn is part of the cure.
In a sense, yes.
Speaking of cures, we have to talk about Alina's bundle. This came from the transcript of Dr. Kulczycki's video. It sounds like something out of a fairy tale. Kaganko Alini.
It does, doesn't it? But it's a very practical application of garlic's volatile nature.
Describe the recipe for us.
It's simple. You crush several cloves of garlic, and remember, the crush is essential to release the allicin.
Right, raw is law,
You wrap them in gauze or a light cloth, tie it up, and hang it near your bed.
but not too near, right? The source was specific.
Right. The source warns specifically, 2 to 3 meters away. Do not put it on your pillow.
Why? Is the smell that strong?
It's not just the smell, it's the chemical potency. The allicin is released into the air, it becomes an aerosol. If it's too close, it can irritate the mucous membranes, the eyes, the throat.
I can imagine.
But at a safe distance, you are essentially doing garlic aromatherapy. You are inhaling these antimicrobial compounds all night.
This helps with colds.
Yes, it clears sinuses, helps with runny noses, and because allicin is airborne, it can actually kill pathogens in the respiratory tract.
It's like a passive air purifier for your
A
lungs.
very smelly air purifier, yes.
The source also listed specific bacteria that garlic kills. E. coli, Pseudomonas, and Staphylococcus aureus golden staph. Staph is a nasty bug. It's resistant to a lot of antibiotics.
And that is the power of this biological weapon. Garlic has evolved to fight bacteria in the soil. It destroys their cell walls. It interferes with their DNA and protein synthesis. It's a multi-pronged attack that bacteria find very hard to develop resistance against.
So Alina's bundle isn't just folklore. It's atmospheric sterilization.
Precisely. Just be careful if you have asthma or bronchial hyperactivity.
Ah, the safety warning.
The source warns that for those people, the strong fumes could trigger a bronchospasm. So, proceed with caution.
Good to know. Now we are moving into the heaviest section of this deep dive, Section 5, the big C cancer.
Yes.
And I want to start with a disclaimer as the host. We are looking at statistics regarding risk reduction. We are not saying eat garlic and cure your cancer. That is irresponsible. We are talking about prevention and risk.
That is a crucial distinction. We are looking at epidemiological data patterns in large populations.
Okay, with that said, these numbers are staggering.
They are. They really are.
Let's run down the list. Stomach cancer. High garlic consumption linked to a 50% risk reduction. Lung cancer, 50% reduction.
And that lung cancer statistic is particularly interesting because it even held up in populations of smokers. It didn't negate the risk of smoking, obviously, but it significantly lowered the cancer conversion rate.
That's incredible. Colorectal cancer, 20%. Liver cancer, 23%. And breast cancer, nearly 50% reduction when combined with onions.
These are not marginal gains. I mean, if a pharmaceutical drug offered a 50% risk reduction for stomach cancer, it would be mandatory in water supplies.
Why are the numbers so high? What is garlic doing to cancer cells?
It goes back to those OSCs, the organosulfur compounds. They seem to work at multiple stages of carcinogenesis.
Okay.
First, they help DNA repair. Cancer often starts with damaged DNA. Garlic helps fix the code. Second, they induce apoptosis.
That's programmed cell suicide, right?
Yes. Cancer cells are dangerous because they refuse to die. They just keep dividing. Garlic compounds trigger the mechanism that tells a defective cell it's time to shut down.
It flipped the kill switch.
And third, it inhibits angiogenesis, the formation of new blood vessels that tumors need to grow.
So it starves them.
It cuts off their supply lines, so it starves the potential tumor.
It fixes the DNA,
Yeah.
tells the bad cells to kill themselves, and cuts off their food supply. It's a triple threat.
It really is. And the fact that we are seeing this in human studies, not just in petri dishes or in rats, strengthens the case significantly.
Okay, so by this point in our deep dive, I think most listeners are thinking, fine, I'm sold. I need to eat more garlic.
I would hope so.
But how? And how much? Section 6 is our practical user guide. Let's talk dosing.
The therapeutic dose, based on the literature, seems to be about 0.5 to 2 cloves of raw garlic per day.
That's manageable. That's not the 2 bulbs needed for vitamins. That's just 1 or 2 cloves.
Correct. Or, if you prefer supplements, about 0.5 gram to 1 gram of powder daily. But there is a huge caveat with supplements.
The legal, right. You have to read the fine print.
Yes. You must look for standardized allicin content. If the bottle just says garlic extract or garlic oil, it is meaningless.
Why?
You don't know if the allicin is there or if it was destroyed during processing. You need a guarantee of the active compound.
So if it doesn't say allicin on the back, put it back on the shelf.
Exactly. Stick to the raw clove if you can. It's cheaper, and you know the chemistry works.
But the raw clove brings us to the peeling struggle.
I hate peeling garlic. The sticky skin, it gets under your nails.
The struggle is real.
But our source offered some hacks.
The jar shake is a classic. Throw the cloves in a glass jar, screw the lid on tight, and shake it violently for 20 seconds. The impact bruises the skin enough that it just falls off.
I've tried this. It's loud, but it works surprisingly well.
There is also the microwave method, 10 seconds nuking. But
Wait. Didn't we just say heat kills the allicin? We did. The source mentions the microwave as a peeling hack, but as a biochemistry purist, I would advise against it if you want the full medical potency.
Right.
Even a few seconds of microwaves can start to denature that allinase enzyme. Stick to the jar or the stab and twist.
The stab and twist, I haven't heard of that one.
You take the whole head, poke a knife into a single clove, twist and pull. The clove pops out clean, skin stays behind. Requires some practice, but it's very efficient.
Okay, the elephant in the room. The smell. The garlic breath that destroys social lives. Why does it smell so bad and why does it last so long? It's not just in your mouth.
It lasts because those sulfur compounds are absorbed into your bloodstream. They circulate. You aren't just breathing garlic out of your mouth because it's in your teeth. You are breathing it out of your lungs. It's coming out of your pores. You are essentially sweating garlic.
That's horrifying. So brushing your teeth doesn't really fix it.
Not entirely. You need to neutralize the compounds chemically.
And the sources have some antidotes. What actually works?
The #1 contender, surprisingly, is a raw apple.
An apple?
Yes. Apples contain oxidizing enzymes that react with the sulfur compounds and neutralize the odor. Chewing on a raw apple right after the garlic is very effective.
An apple a day keeps the doctor away and the garlic breath.
Indeed. Also effective. Parsley leaves, mint, and interestingly, coffee beans. If you can stomach chewing on a roasted coffee bean.
I think I'd rather do the apple. What about milk? I've heard that helps.
Fatty milk helps. The fat molecules can trap some of the hydrophobic sulfur compounds. Green tea is also mentioned for its polyphenols.
But lemon water, that's a classic folk remedy.
The source calls that a myth. Acid doesn't seem to do much for the sulfur smell.
Okay, so we know how to eat it and how to hide it. But we need to talk about who shouldn't eat it, because this is powerful chemistry, and powerful chemistry has side effects. Section 7, contraindications.
Right, this is important. The biggest red flag is for anyone on blood thinners, warfarin, heparin, or even high doses of aspirin or ibuprofen.
Because garlic itself is a blood thinner.
Yeah. It is an antithrombotic. It prevents platelets from clumping together. If you combine that with a drug that does the same thing, you risk spontaneous bleeding.
Oh, wow.
You could get a nosebleed that won't stop, or worse, internal bleeding. It is a serious interaction.
So if you're on heart meds, talk to your doctor before doing the 2 cloves a day regimen.
Absolutely. Also, stop eating garlic before any planned surgery for the exact same reason. You don't want to be on the operating table with blood that won't clot properly.
What about the diabetics? We said it lowers blood sugar, which is good. Why is it also a warning?
Because of the risk of hypoglycemia. If you are taking insulin or metformin to lower your sugar, and then you add a potent dose of garlic, you might drive your sugar too low.
You could crash.
You could crash. It's all about balance and working with your doctor.
Makes sense. Now, there was a warning here that made me wince. The topical warning. Do not put crushed garlic on your skin.
Please don't. I can't stress this enough. There is a folk remedy where people put crushed garlic on a wart or a wound and bandage it up.
Right.
The problem is, allicin is caustic. It's a chemical. It can cause severe chemical burns. There are case reports of people landing in the burn unit because they strapped garlic to their leg for knee pain.
Yikes. Keep it in your mouth, not on your skin.
Correct. 100%.
And the pet warning. This is crucial for dog and cat owners.
Yes. Garlic is toxic to dogs and cats. It causes oxidative damage to their red blood cells, which leads to a type of anemia. It can cause kidney damage.
So no garlic bread for Fido.
No, it's not a treat. It's a poison for them.
And finally, a myth-busting moment for the new moms. Breastfeeding.
There is a persistent myth that garlic makes breast milk taste bad and that babies will reject it.
I've heard that.
The science says the exact opposite.
Really?
It does flavor the milk. The baby can definitely taste the garlic. But multiple studies have shown that babies actually nurse longer and consume more milk when it has that garlic flavor. They seem to like it.
Start them young on the savory stuff.
Exactly. Unless the specific baby gets colicky or shows a sensitivity, it is perfectly safe and maybe even beneficial during lactation.
This has been, well, a deep dive in the truest sense. I'm looking at this stack of notes, and I'm just impressed. We started with a simple kitchen staple and ended up with a medical powerhouse.
It really earns the title superfood. We use that term loosely for a lot of things, but garlic has the data to back it up.
So let's bring it home. The so what for our listener.
The so what is that you have access to a broad-spectrum medical tool for pennies.
Yeah.
It touches the cardiovascular system, the immune system, the metabolic system, and the detoxification pathways. It is cheap, it is accessible, and the mechanisms are increasingly well understood.
And the only cost is the smell.
That's as the tax you pay for the protection.
I want to leave the listener with this final provocative thought, which really stuck with me while prepping for this. We tend to separate food and medicine into two different mental
Oh,
boxes.
we do.
Medicine comes in a pill bottle and costs a copay. Food is what's in the fridge.
Right.
But imagine if a pharmaceutical company released a new pill tomorrow, and the press release said, this pill lowers blood pressure, kills antibiotic-resistant bacteria, scrubs heavy metals from your liver, and reduces your risk of stomach cancer by 50%.
The stock price would skyrocket. It would cost $500 a month. People would be fighting to get a prescription for it.
Exactly. But because it looks like a lumpy vegetable and makes your breath smell, we ignore it. We chop it up and cook the life out of it.
It's a paradox of value. We undervalue what is abundant and cheap.
So the question for you, the listener, is, are you willing to embrace the stink? Are you willing to be the person with the garlic breath if it means you're walking around with a biological shield?
I know my answer. Pass the apple.
Pass the apple indeed. Thanks for diving deep with us. We'll see you on the next one.
Stay healthy.